Welcome to episode 112 of the Road is Dead podcast. I'm your host, Rob Curtis, here in the studio with
Leah, Sanda.
And then joined remotely by
Tim Strelecki.
There we go. So, a couple weeks into the season now, we had Trek Cup last weekend. I kind of wanted to get an episode out before Trek Cup, but, obviously we didn't get a chance. Busy in preparation for all of that. I know, Leah, that was your, second group of races this season?
Third if you count relay cross, but second real race.
So what do you think?
I've raced Trek a number of times in the past, and I know that course always is just, it's like a boxing match where you're just standing there getting punched in the face over and over again. It's just so hard, and I just don't have that kind of hard, steep punch up those climbs, and whether it's on the bike or off the bike on foot, it hurts in a way that I had forgotten. The course was super dry and dusty. I know quite a few people, it seemed like, were having some issues in the big sweeper turns when you're coming downhill and you're going really fast. I mean, it's a great course. It's challenging. It certainly seems to favor people that are really good at climbing, because you have to do it, even though they're not long climbs. It's just like over and over and over and over and over again. And, it kind of highlighted some things that I need to work on in training, which was kind of my point for the whole weekend. It was my first race on my new bike setups, and, practiced a pit exchange with you, Rob, on Friday, which, just kind of it was really just a whole weekend spent learning about what I need to work on in my training and testing out my equipment. The racing was pretty solid. I thought the vibe was about what I expected it to be for not being a World Cup anymore. It didn't really have much of a spectator presence. It was a racer's race, though, and I thought it was good as a racer's race. And everything that was there was about what I would have expected for that level of race that early in the season. So I got no complaints at all about the whole weekend. So how about you, Tim?
For me, I think, it's typical Trek. There's always a little bit more pressure that I put on myself for that event versus any other, event that I tend to do, whether it's Wisconsin or here locally. It's just it's a higher level event. It brings good people from all around the country. So there, I tend to put a little bit more pressure on myself. So heading in, I was like, I didn't have the weekend before. I did a double. I did a Wisconsin Saturday, CCC Sunday, and it was like just to kind of gauge where I was at. And I'm like thinking to myself, not terrible, but not where you need to be. And Trek solidified that for me as far as what I'm missing. And I kind of had a feeling going in it was going to be like that. I didn't necessarily. I was hoping it wasn't going to be, but it sure showed up. And that for me is like, the climbing's fine. Like Trek for me personally, and I don't want to sound like a douchebag, but it's not that hard of a course. I don't mind the climbing. I can do the climbing. The technical aspects of it, they're not really that hard. The thing that Trek was for me was, especially on Thursday, when I got there for pre-ride, it was excessively bumpy. Way worse than it was during the race, because it had been ridden in Thursday. It had been raced all day Friday, raced, Saturday. So by Sunday, a lot of the chatter that was there kind of dissipated or was packed down. But it was super bumpy, windy for everybody. So that was an extra challenge. But for me personally, it solidified that middle portion of the race. If it's a 7-lap race, that lap 4.5 to the finish, that's where I was lacking. So I've just been working on that the past week and building that back up and getting that and righting that ship so it doesn't happen again. Plus, with Trek being a USCX, the Masters fields are different. It's a 40 plus Masters field, whereas before, when it was encompassed in the World Cup weekend, it was a 45 plus course. So racing, the Masters that are in that field that are a category down for me, it's always challenging. It's tough in a Masters field when you're exiting the age group and all the younger guys are coming into your field. So it's always more challenging. And it was all around, from a physical aspect of what I was dealing with and then from the competition that was there. So, but overall, like you said, Leah, I think the vibe was what I expected it to be. I didn't feel like it was bad by any means. It still seemed like a party, which Trek always seems to provide. They always have a high vibe and things like that. I mean, I really didn't leave our pit very much, to be honest. I was pretty much just there to hang out with teamies and race. So it was good. It was good. Came away with 2 second places. So whatever.
Yeah.
Just focus ahead.
Yeah, way better than me. That's for damn sure.
Well, Rob,
talk about your experience.
Yeah, you raced 3 times?
No, I only raced twice.
Twice? Okay.
So wait, so Leah, you raced Friday and Saturday.
Friday and Saturday, yeah.
Both days you did the Masters women,
I did Masters on Friday,
and then you did Cat.
and then I did Cat 3 on Saturday.
Nice.
Right. Okay. And then, yeah, I didn't race. And then Tim, you did the 40 plus straight up 1, 2, 3.
Yeah,
they had
Saturday.
that on course Saturday and Sunday, and they had that on course with the 50 plus, 60 plus, 70 plus.
Yes.
All together.
If I could talk about that a little bit for
Sure.
a second, I understand timing is an issue. I get it. I fully understand that everyone has a right to race when their race is scheduled, but I don't think it's right to have the 60 plus and 70 plus on course with the 40 plus and 50 plus at the same time. There's an exponential difference between even the speed of mid to backpack of 40 plus to the front of 60 and 70. There's a distinct speed difference. And I experienced that myself being at the front of the 40 plus field, where I was there would be, the later the race went, the more roadblocks there were, and the harder it got to stay in touch with your competitors because you had literally like walls of older masters, 60, 70 masters guys that were just tired or mechanicals, or they couldn't make the features and they're just standing there. And you can't race your competitors when you're up against that. You just can't. And that's what I ran into. So I don't know how you solve it. I don't want to sound like I'm complaining, but I am. I think it takes away from what could be an exciting Masters race dynamic with, the older fields being in there. And you can hate me all you want for saying that. I don't really care, but I know what I'm experiencing. It's just tough to manage that. It was way worse than any mountain bike race I've ever done. Because, it was, I found it actually to be worse on Sunday than it was on Saturday, for the fact that now the 60 plus and 70 plus have a full day of racing in their legs. They're tired. They're exponentially tired. And there were many times where I came to climb Factory Hill and there was just a wall of people in front of me, and you can't do anything but get off and run. You're at their mercy. And that's not the way I see races going. I understand it happens, but I don't know what you do about it. I mean, I do think if you're going to keep those masters on track at the same time, you make them take the junior line, the shorter line, so they can keep racing and not block everything. I don't know. I don't think it wasn't a very fun experience for me trying to race for the win, nor did I create a good racing experience for the gentlemen that I was on the track with at certain points throughout the day, because I had to be aggressive and pass them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe a different mix of groups together would make more sense.
Yeah, I was surprised it went as high as it did. Beforehand, I was talking to a rider from our area, and he reminded me he was getting ready to start it, and he reminded me he was racing the 70 plus, and I was like, "Whoa, that's up there."
That's awesome that they're out there doing it. They just need to be, like you said, Leah, in with a field that is their speed.
Yeah,
right.
Whether it's another men's field, a juniors field, or a women's field.
Juniors fields do. I haven't spent a lot of time racing with juniors fields. I have this year because up in Wisconsin, that's how they've been running this 40 plus 345 that I've been doing, and they run at the same time as the juniors. One of the juniors fields, I don't know the age call out, but it's the one that like the Kurth boys are racing in.
13,
and I want to
14.
say it's like, is it 13, 14?
I think
I was going to say it's either
12,
13 or 13, 14. And that was a good field to race with. I didn't mind that at all. It actually meshed pretty well with what we were doing. And they did it right. They started them before us. Whereas at Englewood, they started them behind us, which I thought was a mistake because there's fast guys in there, and the kids are going to just blow through all of those adults, and they're going through the back end of our field, which I'm pretty much close to the back end of our field, and we're all pretty cordial and know how to get out of their way. But yeah, I mean, they started them in front of us both days at Trek, and I thought that was perfect. And it was interesting though, because at least one of my races, I was getting towards the steep descent that you go down, that's all, and then you turn around and go up the steep climb up towards the secret bar. But I was dropping into that descent, and this guy in front of me, I was looking at this guy, and this guy was like, I was thinking to myself, this guy's got to be like, really young. He does not look like he's supposed to be in a master's field. And I was about ready to like call the guy out for pre-riding, be like, dude, there's no pre-ride, there's a race going on. And then like, I didn't say anything. And then like, a minute or two later, I saw another one, and I was like, oh, that's right, we're on course with juniors at the same time.
You got to remind yourself. Yeah, it's kind of hard to remember when you're
it was a few laps
deprived.
It was a few laps in before I was really running into any of those kids. So I'm glad I didn't say anything, obviously, but yeah, no. And then to your point at the Factory Hill thing, I got somebody last lap. I'm coming in, and I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of the Factory Hill feature this year. I didn't like how it was laid out. I understand it's a perfectly acceptable feature, and there was nothing wrong with it. It just wasn't. It wasn't entertaining for me. Whereas in previous years, I've really enjoyed that feature.
Well, you went into it with a full head of steam. You didn't scrub your speed like you had the years prior with a right end or a soft left, right, and then left down the hill. You went full steam into the downhill.
Yeah. And I don't know. When pre-riding it, I never really got it right. And because I never really got it right, it was like, I'm not gonna risk this during the race. I'm just gonna run it every time. And I hate running it. It just bugs me. But anyway, I was coming into it on my last lap on the second day, and I had gotten this little routine where I would just kind of jam the brakes and get to the point where the bike wanted to throw me off, and then that's when I would kind of dismount it and pick it up and throw it on my shoulder and go. And I was doing that, and I could hear it was somebody lapping me, just flying into it, and they were just. I don't remember what they said, but it was nothing about what they said was impolite, but the tone of it was like, hey, get the fuck out of my way, without saying that.
I think I said that a couple times.
and I don't know why. Sometimes that bugs me. Sometimes it doesn't. I try not to let it ever bug me, because I know it just happens. But it was kind of going to bug me, and I was about to go, I'm still racing now, and I'm staying out of the way, or yell something along those lines. I was trying to think of what I was going to yell. And then the guy flew down, took the other line anyway. And as he was going past me, went, hey, great to see that you're out here racing again, man. And instantly took me off the, hey, I was like, oh yeah, thanks.
Yeah. I think with those two lines, obviously it was dry as the Sahara Desert, but if we got some moisture, I think that high line would have been really good because the
It would have
rut
been
would have
interesting.
developed. It would have
Yeah.
been really good. But
It would have been
I
really
mean,
interesting. We were cutting over all those ruts coming into it
yeah,
from all the previous years,
yeah,
and that's what made it a little dicey coming
yeah.
in,
I
which
mean,
was fun.
they went every which way.
Yeah, it was fun, but like I said,
It's a good
I've
course.
personally, for me, I've enjoyed its previous layouts.
I agree with you, Rob. I didn't like the layout this year.
But there was nothing wrong with it physically. I mean, it was a viable feature. It was interesting for some people, but I don't think it did anything for the pros. I think they just went in and railed it and we're done with it.
I think, like, I don't think that it was any different for me personally. Like every year I've raced there, it's been almost identical. It feels almost identical.
Well, last year where they did the in back and
I
double
didn't race.
back,
Yeah,
I didn't
like
race
that
last
one.
year, so I mean,
Yeah.
I could
It
race
could've-
that one, and even 2 years ago, and that it was the same layout, and I liked it. I liked that
Yeah.
layout because I could ride it. I guess that's why I liked it, because I could ride it. It wasn't
I
that
remember
difficult.
like 3 years ago, and I think I bitched at one of the Trek employees. I think it was Scott Daubert who came up to me and apologized because it would always be right before the Masters race was scheduled. They had the UCI course check, right? And for 2 years in a row,
Oh yeah, yeah.
they never closed the UCI course, and we were never told at the start finish line which course we were racing. So like 3 years ago, I'm here going over the first flyover. I have the whole shot, and I'm like, this is great. And I go to go straight, and the guy's like, because it's open.
Yeah.
Nobody tells me any different. I go straight to go into like the UCI course because it's not closed. And the guy's like, no, no, no. He's like, go this way. So I slammed on the brakes. I flipped over my bars, crashed, got up, won the race. And then I had a conversation with Scott Darbert afterwards. And I kind of like, I wasn't mean to him. Like, I understand they're under a lot of pressure when they're dealing with the World Cup. I get that. But you have to relay that message to the next race after training so they don't do anything, detrimental.
They had good signage up
They
this
did.
year.
Their
This year they
signage
did,
was
yeah.
fantastic. Their signage
Yeah.
was fantastic.
And they had a guy in our race. They had a guy, because I think they were opening it up either before our race or right after our race for practice.
Yeah.
And so they had a guy there where they blocked it off before we would go into that descent that I was talking about.
Yeah.
And they had a guy standing there the whole time, like pointing us, go that way, go that way, go that way. And it was closed off as well. And they had the sign there. But he was doing it for the whole race to the point where the last lap I looked at him, I was like, are you sure? You sure he can't go that way? I might want to go that way.
I think one year I did get to race the full course because they forgot to do it. And they were just like, let it go. So I raced the UCI course, and it was a blast.
Yeah.
It was a blast. It was hard as hell, but it was a blast.
The very first year that they did, I don't remember, but it was the first year they had like Factory Hill, and they had that whatever they call it, the loading dock little feature, the run up or whatever.
What used to be the Segafredo run up.
Yeah. When they first put that in, I jumped on Friday night when I got there and it set up, and I jumped on the course, and I didn't realize it was a UCI preview time, or they had it wide open.
Yeah.
And I had never seen the course, and I had never ridden a bike on the course.
What the hell?
and I was just like, this is not like a course. This is the most difficult thing I've ever ridden in my life. I'm slammed because of all the climbing and everything.
Yeah.
And then I saw the descent, and I was like, well, that's cool. I can do this descent. And then I saw the run up, and I was like, I guess I'm supposed to ride this. And I just flew in with as much speed as I could, and I took it like halfway up and dismounted and ran it. And I was like, if that's going to be, I think I made the decision not to race, just because of that. And I don't think I raced like that night or whatever. I skipped at least one of my races, if not all of my races that weekend, because I was like, I can't do this course. This course is way too hard. It took me a while to realize that wasn't supposed to be in our race, that I was not supposed to do that feature. So yeah, it's a sucky little feat. It's hard. I like the course. I know you say it's not a very hard course. For me, I would say, it's definitely probably one of the most difficult courses I do all year. Just because I don't get out to other courses. and everything else is in the CCC, or even the Wisconsin ones. They're not as packed full of features as what Trek is, in my opinion.
No, that's what I like about it.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand that. And I will say that for me, every other year before this year, that was why I hated the course, because there was way too many features.
Yeah, for me personally, I think what's challenging about Trek is, while it's balanced technically, it's kind of a power heavy course.
Yeah.
Like you got to have some horses to get around that track pretty fast, as well as the technical ability. And that's where if I'm good, it's good. If I'm, lacking like I was this year, it's like, oh, this is going to be rough.
It could really punch you in the face.
Yeah, absolutely.
And every year that I've done it where I haven't been and had fitness, that's what kills me, is because, you start out and you got that climb right at the start.
Yeah.
And then you go down by the pits, and then you got the second huge climb. And then at the top of that climb, the second time you've climbed that big ass hill, you've got to do the flyover, like 40-degree flyover and ride up that. Yeah. And that's usually enough to just completely peg, red line me. And that would my race would be over, at that point. But this year with much more fitness, it wasn't like that. I was able to race it and ride it. And I actually started to, by the end of the second day, started to have fun with it and started to really enjoy the course.
Both days there's a headwind up that hill too.
It's disappointing how short the lap really is when I think about it in terms of, I don't know about times. I didn't really look at times. What were they, like
8?
I was going to say like 8-9 minutes for me.
How do you guys find lap times? Do you have lap times? You were lapping. I don't have that. Yeah.
And I there was one race on one of the days where I hit it. I missed one, but you can take that 2 lap time and divide it by 2 and it's about the same. Yeah. So I want to say it was like 8:30 or 9 minutes in that range, which is about what I normally do a lap in for most courses, or at least the UCI courses. And I was noticed it just felt really short to me time wise. And each lap has so many specific technical features. I'll call them technical features. They're really just interesting things that are thrown in there. So either a big hill or a flyover or a little rock thing you got to go over, or stairs or barriers, or, now there's this climb, this technical descent, now this technical climb, and, another rock wall, and it's just like, there's so many, 2 flyovers, there's so many little features, and you're hitting them all in that time period, and they're set so that it's like constant. It's like the same number of seconds go by and then you hit another one. The same number of seconds go by and you hit another one. And it's just like, it's a lot of, if you're thinking through a lot of it, for me, it's just very intense. It's a lot of energy spent thinking through that entire race. There's no recovery. There's no recovery in that course. It's just even if you're not physically pedaling hard in a section, you're thinking through it, or you're having to technically, maneuver or do whatever. And it's just exhausting from that standpoint for me. And I was thinking about it, and then I was talking to somebody, and they were like, yeah, the guy who designed that course initially, I guess, is the guy who designed their mountain bike trails system that they have.
It's a great trail system. Yeah.
And apparently when he got done designing the course initially, he told everybody, he's like, I fucked up. I didn't put any recovery in. And it's like,
there's recovery after the third flyover onto the asphalt.
Yeah. For all like 180 feet of it or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. That's enough. That's all you need.
I absolutely was flying through that section. For all 3 seconds of it. There's a couple sections where you can do that. There's the other section where you're flying back towards the secret bar to actually go up by it.
I mean, you get a whole downhill on the way to pit 1.
That's fun. Yeah. And I will say a lot of people are using that for recovery, and I made it a point to upshift and pedal the whole time, and I picked off people in that section by doing that.
On Sunday.
So that was fun. But so to recount, I know nobody really wants to listen to my long-winded explanations of my races. I will just say that they were fun. I had fun. The race the first day, the first time I raced it, I did 2 previews, laps, did my warm up, and then went out and raced the race, and it was exhausting. And I don't have 2 days of racing in me, just like at Inglewood, I didn't have 2 days of racing in me. So I went out the second day. I think I placed well for me on the first day. I got like 34th or something like that. I beat 10 people or so.
Yeah.
And getting to see the same guys now after a few weeks. So, there's good camaraderie in it, and it's a lot of fun lining up. And the second day, my heart wasn't in it at all.
I saw it when you pulled up to the pit. I was like,
Yeah.
It's either a late night and he had a couple beers, or he's just not feeling it.
I usually do. When I go up there, I'll drink on the Saturday night leading into the Sunday. And then used to be, that would be my excuse for skipping the Sunday race. Well, the nice thing about doing this 40 plus 345 is that it was at 11:30. So I knew I was going to make that race regardless. And it really wasn't too bad. It was just, I came into Sunday really anxious and kind of nervous for some reason, and I don't know why. But then I was like, the thought of doing a pre-lap, I was like, I don't need to. I know what the course looks like.
It's not going to change. There's no rain.
Yeah. And it got drier, if anything.
Yeah, dustier.
And I was like, and the wind kicked up, and I went to go get on the trainer to do the warm up, and I in my head I was like, I've been telling myself, because I don't like doing warm ups. But I've been telling myself, you can physically do this, and it's actually kind of easy, and you're going to be better off for doing it. So just do it.
It's a good attitude.
This time when I got on, I really felt like I was getting on a trainer indoors in the middle of winter. I had zero motivation. I did not want to do it whatsoever. And, the high cadence stuff at the beginning of this little warm-up routine that we got, I liked it, and I was getting into it, and I was loosening up, and I'm glad I did that. But then the second it started to do any kind of power work, it was like my brain just checked out. I did like 2 minutes of it, and then I was like, you know what? I can warm up on course. You start looking at your watch. You're like, do I have enough time? Dude, you've got plenty of time to finish this workout, But I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to warm up on course. All these guys are going to be warming up on course anyway. Almost none of them were on a trainer. So it's like, you know what? I don't care. I'm just going to go out and race the way that I want to race. And then I found I was yawning in the grid. And I do that when I'm super nervous for some reason at a race. Don't know why I was that damn nervous about that race, but I was. But I was like, today's just going to suck. It's just going to suck. They gave us the go, and I found a way to relax like 5 seconds before the start, and was just like, hey, it's just a start. Just do your thing. And you can start well. So just try to start well, see what happens. And they said, go. I got in my pedal better than I thought I would. And I took a couple pedal strokes, and I always talk about that moment where when people aren't moving away from you and they like stall and then they start coming towards you and you haven't even really gone yet. And you're like, okay, I need to go. And I just started hitting gears and just started moving. And I literally put the nose of the saddle into my butt, sat on the nose of the saddle and just kept just the tension on the whole time and just kept upshifting all the way up that hill. And we got to that corner and I was like, I'm going to pay for this. I know I'm going to pay for it, but I don't care. I'm just going to do it. And I got to that first turn and I passed a lot of people. And I heard Nathan Phelps, who listens to this, he was behind me or next to me or something, and he was basically like, great, now I got to pass you. It's like, you're all the way up here, and now I got to pass you. So that actually helped out. Rode well from that point. And
I told you to be aggressive. I shouted at you.
Yeah. And I felt like I got better.
Chalk up those elbows, man, and put them in people's ribs. Who cares?
I felt like I got better through the rest of the race. There were some moments I got to chase some people, got to have some fun actually racing some people. I'm glad I didn't warm up, and I had a much better race, I think, because of it. A lot of those guys were tired as well, too.
Do you think you don't think you could have had a better race if you warmed up?
I don't think so. I really don't. I mean, maybe marginally better, but I think that was the right decision for me for where I was mentally for the day.
Makes sense. Yeah, we've all been there.
Got it done, and actually, so I finished like 31st or something. There was fewer people that were racing against. I beat about the same number of people for the second day, but I was slightly higher by a couple positions just because there's less people in the field. This is where I don't understand cross results because
Nobody does.
I looked yesterday or the day before, and that the points I scored for that race on Sunday, are in essence the best points that I have ever scored for any race going back to 2008.
Mm-hmm.
And I have finished, way back then I was finishing in the top 20, out of 60 people or whatever. And even then my points weren't nearly as good as the points I had from that race. I know it's weighted somewhat on the quote unquote quality of the field.
Yeah.
So, back then I was racing Cat 4s and 4Bs or whatever. And that field was a self-selected 3, 4, 5 field that wanted to race on a UCI course.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand it was a tougher field, and that had something to do with it. But man, I got some good points from that race. So I'm glad I did it, and I'm glad I stuck it through, and I'm glad I raced it. But
yeah, I think the quality or the points you get is determined, obviously, like you said, on the quality of the field. So if you've got guys in your field that have high points overall, the quality of your race goes up. If you just
and by high, we mean low, correct?
Correct.
Because it's
correct.
opposite.
The lower the number, the better points you are.
Yeah.
Or the better you're ranked.
I had the lowest that race.
Yeah. And then the way I understand it, and listeners, please correct me if I'm wrong, but it took me years to figure this out, is the way you actually get really good points for yourself is if you beat the riders in your race that have better
points that are
standing
better than you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how you really boost yourself.
I figured that, but then when I did that at Englewood, I actually got some of the worst points I've gotten in a long time. So I don't know.
Huh.
And even Nathan, I was chatting with Nathan before the start of one of our races, and he's like, because we had talked about this in a previous episode, and he was like, yeah, no, I don't get it either. I've looked at it and I don't understand it. So specifically with the Englewood stuff, because that should have been really prime point territory for some of us in that race because of how we did.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe we can get somebody on that.
Drop us a line and let us know.
Speaking of dropping us a line, I do want to get to you guys where you're going this weekend and kind of get you to talk a little bit about that. But I did want to we got an email from Robbie Canier after the last episode, and he did have a question because I said, hey, email us some topics, we'll talk about it or whatever. But he's like, hi, Tim, Leah, and Rob. Tried many chain lubes, and I can't really tell the difference. Sometimes my chain is greasy and dirty, sometimes it squeaks. Right now, both of my cyclocross chains have rust on them, but they seem fine. What lube would you use? And what does your chain care, your chain care look like during the season? He also added, should I put buttonhole on it? No, don't put buttonhole on it. He said he's not interested in waxing. Sorry. So I don't know. Yeah. You guys talk about it. I'll throw mine in, but you guys
go ahead, Leah.
Honestly, I admit that I really don't think that much about it. I just use whatever I can find at hand. Whether it's Rob makes a mix here, I'll use that.
Slick stuff.
Slick stuff. And then I think I have some like rock and roll lube or whatever that red stuff is, and then I have that yellow dye. I don't even know. The demand, yeah. So I mean, I just if the chain looks like it needs, I wipe it down. I don't really even think that much about it. I mean, I'm waxed on my road bike because it doesn't see a lot of wet. But for cross and mountain bike and all that, I just think the wax doesn't hold up to the dirt and grit and all that stuff. Rob would know a lot more about this than I would.
I will talk later.
Tim?
For me, I think my vantage point is I think it's pointless to wax your chain for off-road stuff because of, like you said, Leah, the dirt, the dust, the debris, the wet, the mud, the muck. You're gonna replace your chain once, maybe twice, maybe 3 times during season, depending on the conditions you're riding in. So right now, I'm like you, Leah. I pay attention to it, especially if I hear my chain. It's terrible. But with the conditions we've had, it's been dry. So I've just been using a muck off dry lube. I'll apply it before I go out for a training session. I'll wipe it off when I get back. it's almost a daily thing because I feel like that lube dissipates quickly, especially when you're riding in a lot of dry. It's an everyday thing at the races, like especially back to back. I'll use the same lube, do it once or twice, and then wet conditions. I have a ceramic muck off wet lube that I use. But like you, I also for road bikes wax chain because I don't want to spend 5 hours riding in the rain. So I'll just get on the trainer and it's fine. So my chain maintenance is pretty good, I feel. I will take it off and degrease it and get all the grime and give it a thorough cleaning before I apply that. And I do that several times, but I don't really like get too scientific about it. It's a bike chain. It's gonna deteriorate no matter what you put on it,
I
whether
see
it's
that completely. Yeah.
lubricant or wax, especially in off-road racing. It's like I mean, the waxing process has been streamlined with a lot of the
Yeah.
products that are available, and it's a lot quicker, so it makes sense. And if you have the means to get these products for a discount or for free if you're sponsored, whatever, it makes complete sense. If I had sponsors that gave me chains and chain wax, I'd do it till I was blue in the face. But I think for off-road racing and cyclocross specifically, I just keep it pretty simple.
Yeah.
And when I have a problem, I go seek you, Rob, and you fix it for me.
I like that.
It's easy.
My take, I know I've talked a lot about chains on here in the past. So at the risk of repeating myself, um, my general take is what Tom Ritchie was supposedly quoted as saying at some point.
Good man. This is a good
I
man.
I watched or read a quote from him, and it was something to the effect of, "Life is too short to clean your chain."
That's great. It's a
And
great quote.
and I totally get that. I totally agree with that. And that is kind of also my basis. So I go both directions on this. I either think that who cares on the one hand. Uh, at the same time, I have seen a lot of drivetrains be destroyed by people that don't do any chain maintenance whatsoever. Um, which, is it going to kill everything? No. It will definitely wear stuff out quicker if you're not doing any maintenance to it. Um, and the performance just goes down. Um, I think that if you do basic maintenance, you can get so much better performance out of a chain. It's ridiculous. And chains are amazing technology at this point in time. What goes into them, how they function, how they work, how they're made is really crazy. What we ask them to do on like 11, 12 speed drivetrains is a lot of work. And I think that they perform very well for that. That being said, for cyclocross, um, if you're not the kind of person who has the ability to throw it on a stand, your bike on a stand, and really maintain stuff easily, and I'm thinking kind of a lot of people that are working maybe in a city or urban area where they have an apartment. Let's say they don't necessarily have a lot of room to throw a bike stand up and throw it on the stand. Then just do your best. I would say stick with the wet lube. Do your best, and really, I think the key to that good performance with the wet lube is learning how to apply the wet lube.
Yeah.
Because too many people just kind of slather it on. They use way too much lube, um, and or they just don't wipe it off. And I'll kind of expand on that slightly, but it's the general process, and the way that I would recommend everybody do it is you put one drop per link. Most of you have heard that. You start at the quick link and go around so that you make sure that you've got the whole thing. If you're lucky, you will use a lube that has a cleaner in it. So it also cleans the chain as you're lubricating it. The one that we mix up here, it has that. So it will also clean your chain at the same time that you're lubing it. We use the cleaner. It's a light solvent. So it also will, while it cleans, it's our carrier for the oil to get it in to the link so that that's where it's going to be when it evaporates and leave the oil behind. You can pretty much use any oil that you want. I don't really care. You can use motor oil if you want. A lot of people would poo-poo that. Here's a reality. The problem with motor oil is that it's usually a detergent motor oil, and detergent motor oils will leave dirt in suspension. They're designed to do that instead of shedding the dirt. And with a bike chain, you want to shed it. You want the dirt to get out of the system instead of being kept in the oil itself. That being said, it's a bike chain. You're not really going to do much to it either way. Some oil is better than no oil. If you use any of the off-the-shelf stuff, cool. Dumon's got good stuff. I know. What was the other one you said?
The Rock and Roll.
Yeah, Rock and Roll's got a good lube. I do our mix, and I do it in bulk, kind of, because when it comes to cross season, I always have a bottle sitting in the toolbox, and it is the one thing I can throw on that will solve a lot of problems that could come to me on race day. You know, it's just throw some lube on it, and believe it or not, it'll fix a lot of issues. You got stiff links because you get all sorts of debris and everything in there, and people will let their chain sit for a while. You get stiff links.
Mud.
It's not going to shift well, or it's hanging up. It's doing that, and just throwing lube on it and cleaning it off is great. So you put one drop on every link. And the big thing is, once you've done that and you've gone all the way around, you wipe off every bit of oil that you can. And that's the thing that people don't do. I think a lot of people think that they have to oil the outside of the chain, and you actually don't. That the outside of the chain really shouldn't have oil on it. The oil needs to stay behind in between the plates and in between the roller and the pin, which is all internal. You know, you don't see that from the outside. So wipe off as much of the oil as you can on the outside, and you will have a chain that lasts for a long time and actually has really good performance, in my opinion. Myself personally, I'm on year 2 of waxing for cyclocross. I like wax for a lot of reasons right now, namely how clean it does keep the drivetrain. I will say I think it functioned well in the muddy race we had at Montrose in sand. It did shed sand very well. When I came through Barry-Roubaix this year with the wax, I didn't pick up any sand, and I've picked up sand in the past. I like its performance in that way. If people remember what I was saying about last year, is that if you race a muddy race or wet race with it, you've got to get it cleaned off immediately. And if you don't, you're going to have a rusty chain. That being said, it's cyclocross. You can live with a rusty chain. It's just surface rust. It's not really doing anything. And if you get lube onto it again very quickly, it will still function. And if anything, it's going to run any rust that was in the way of functioning is going to get ground out, and it will be fine. And at the end of the day, like I said, it's cyclocross, and you're probably going to replace the chain at the end of the season anyway. So who cares? So for those reasons, I'm still running wax. Also, I've got brand new drivetrains, and I don't want to soak them in oil yet. If it calls for it at some point, I will. But I've got, a gravel bike that I'm definitely running waxed, and I'm running now the same groups between them. So I've got cassettes that are going between them, and wheels and all sorts of other stuff. So I just don't want to cross-pollinate at this point between oil and wax. So I'm still waxing everything. To your point, Tim, I use the Silka system. They've got that melter now. I have
one of those. Yep.
Love it.
Yep.
And
simple. It's very simple.
I have a shop. I can walk a bike in, throw it on a stand, pull the chain off, dump it in the pot, walk away, set a reminder. I now have a little piece of paper I tape to the door to make sure I don't leave with it still on, because I have done that.
Yeah.
On a Saturday, wake up in the morning and go, I left the wax on. I got to go to the shop. You come in, you got that smell of burnt wax kind of going throughout the shop, and luckily not a fire. That's actually why I went to the Silka system, because it has a PID controller, and it controls the temp much better. When we used to use a crock pot system, it's just burning. And eventually it's going to smoke out,
Yeah.
That Silka system makes it easy, and I think anybody can do it.
Start
it's just
to finish,
a matter
30
of
minutes.
Yeah, it's a matter of you just got to buy the equipment, and that may be an obstacle for some people, but I get it. Cycling's not a cheap sport, but this is probably the easiest chain system I've ever had. Apart from that, I go back to, and before I went to that, I would use my own lube. It had a little bit of cleaner in it. I would never fully clean a chain. I would never really soak it. And a couple times I did, maybe with the ultrasonic, I would throw it in there every now and then. But for the most part, I would just add oil and clean it off.
I did, yeah. I mean, I did the Waterloo race before Trek, and it was a heavy mudder. And by the time I got home and got to the car wash to spray everything off, my chain had already rusted.
Yeah.
And then the
It'll
next day,
flash rust.
yeah, I just took it off, degreased it, cleaned it, sprayed a shitload of WD-40 on it just to kind of get it working again, and lubed it, cleaned it, blew it off, and it's fine.
Yeah. And they will be. I mean,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's cross. You know, if it's running, it's running. So
I mean,
that's my take on chains.
I will say the combination of pure wax and then that, the Silka Super Secret, that's a nice little, that keeps my road bike purring pretty nicely.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't waste the product on my stuff for cross.
And I got to tell you, I've pulled mine on. We had a couple dusty races, and just because of that, I've pulled the chain off, throw it in the wax.
Yeah.
It's just so quiet and so nice right afterwards. I just like it. And it's clean.
You're a bike snob, Rob.
I don't want to be.
You are.
And I will say,
there's no doubt about it.
My bikes have been dirtier this year than ever before because I'm actually riding them and I don't have the time to clean them all the time. You guys can attest to that. My bikes have been dirtier than ever. So
that is a good thing.
And with that in mind, I still wax. So, I don't know. But I'm a proponent of that. I understand, Robbie, you don't want to wax, but so do whatever you got to do. Use whatever lube you need to use, and the key is using it properly, consistently, and wiping off the excess. So if you're just riding around, you're doing your training and racing within a week, not like horrible conditions, then I would recommend doing it at least once a week. Pick a day of the week and just always on Mondays you do it, or when you get back from the race on Sunday you do it. Otherwise,
take it to another level and have a training chain and a race chain.
Yeah, you can do that.
But
or just the night before the race,
Yeah.
I used to do that back in the day, even before I had the shop. I would night before the race, I'd pack my gear and I'd go over the bike. And I would lube the chain as a part of going over the back. Anytime the bike hits the stand and I'm using a wet lube, I would lube it. It's just part of it, and wipe off the excess. But at the end of the day, I always say, remember what Tom Ritchie said: life is too short to clean a chain. So it's you don't have to, just run it. And that was also said back in an era where the chains were basically like $20. Now they're much more expensive.
Yeah,
and I get that. Even at wholesale, they're very expensive. Just FYI for anybody that's wondering. Like, I don't have a top end 12-speed chain, like Dura-Ace hollow pin chain. I don't have one of those because they're damned expensive at wholesale. And it's kind of like, what's the
bike
point?
Chain? It's going to wear out anyway, no matter what level I have.
But I will spend hours trying to tweak 20 grams off of a wheel set I'm building for myself. So, I understand that I don't necessarily always have my priorities in line, but whatever. So, you guys are racing this weekend. Where at?
Cincinnati, King's Cross.
That's 2 weekends, I guess. I'm sorry. Yeah. This weekend is
it's
Major Taylor.
A weekend off. Yeah, I'm not going to Major Taylor. I'm taking a weekend off.
Yeah, no Major Taylor for me either.
It's on my bucket list, but I just didn't want to do it.
I've been doing a Zone 2 training block this week because I realized after Trek I was missing that. So that wraps up after this weekend, and then we're off to King's Cross.
Yeah.
Never been there. I'm excited. I hope it's a good time.
It's supposed to be low 70s and sunny, so
sweet.
Yeah, it should be a dry race. From what I hear and all the recon I've done on it, and not physical recon, but like through YouTube and stuff like that, and through chattering that I've listened to, it's not the most technical course, but it requires you to have power, and it requires you to link things together in an efficient way as far as, portions of the course. That's according to our friend Curtis White. So it'll be fun. It's been a bucket list event for better part of 5 years, and I'm happy to finally get to be able to go and do it.
I would say I would like to go out there at some point. It's not in the cards for me this year. It's on the same weekend as XXX, right?
I mean,
correct.
And right now, I you guys know, but for those that are listening, my loyalty's got to be to the CCC for right now. Being one of the race promoters, it's just kind of where I'm at. That being said, if there was a Sensi style race that was happening within an hour or two drive, it would be a hard choice for me. I might go and try the bigger race, but
it's called Wisconsin.
I understand. I'm not racing this weekend. I'm taking the weekend off. There's plenty of racing this weekend. There's racing in Wisconsin. I think both days, possibly.
I think so.
And
Single Speed World Championships.
Oh yeah, Single Speed World Championships in Madison.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, it's at Inglewood. That's where it's actually taking place.
They promote it as Madison.
Madison.
It's like people that say they're from Chicago but live in the suburbs.
Like me.
Yeah.
Apparently, that's a really bad thing. People really hate that, but I
wasn't
born and raised here, so I don't care.
Why? Yeah, me neither. So, why would you say you're from somewhere you're not?
But it's where are you from? I'm from Elgin.
Right.
And I'm not even
most
really.
People have heard of Elgin.
Right.
I
That's
say
true. I will
Western
say
Springs.
Elgin.
Everybody looks at me with a blank look. Western Springs. Where the heck is that?
Just to fall to Aurora. People will know Aurora from Wayne's World.
If I go outside of the area and people ask where I'm from, I'm just the Chicagoland area.
Yeah.
And I will say Chicagoland.
That's fair game. That's fair.
I truly believe it's one of these things where, if you start driving downtown in the middle of traffic in a major metropolitan area, I say the city doesn't end until the traffic in the metropolitan stuff stops. That's where you're at the outskirts. And if you do that, if you live by that rule, that means that the city of Chicago goes all the way west to Elgin. And just on the other side of Elgin is where it stops.
Pretty much.
So, I'll call it Chicagoland if you want, but we have the same traffic, the same buildings, the same crap all the way. Now, granted, out here, you can't walk, around and get things done by walking or riding a bike, unfortunately. But
sure you can. It just takes longer.
Yeah, a lot longer. It's very risky, too.
Yeah.
So, good racing on tap. I did want to compliment, Tim, you on your background there. I do like it.
Yeah, thanks. I tried to, take all the wood paneling away and just try to say, like I said earlier before we hopped on, it's like, tell me you're not being a douchebag by being a douchebag.
So let me throw my national championship jersey up there, my world championship jersey up there, my medals. No, I get it.
Dude, man, if I had that, I'd be displaying.
Hey, I don't have those, and I'm displaying other people's. That's how I do it.
There's 3 more of these ones.
Uh-huh.
Nice.
Yeah.
But I don't have them. I buried them with relatives.
Not many people do, so.
Yeah. Got a bunch of those. Only have one of those. Maybe more.
Where was I? I was at it may have been Trek, and I saw a kid roll by with a old postal skin suit on.
Oh,
and
nice.
and it was like the 01 era-ish, 0102-ish. And
wow.
I just looked at it and I was like, man, it's got Kenny written all over it. Kenny gave that to him.
He gives them away.
And I texted Kenny and he was like, yeah. And he gave me the name of the kid and everything. He's like, yeah, no, I gave it to him.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I was just thinking that with the world champions jerseys, when you said you got a couple more, I'm like, yeah, if you were Kenny, he'd be handing them out to people and just go ride with them or whatever.
Yeah,
I always thought that was funny.
It's just a jersey.
That's like I've said it with Mike Freeman's. When his brother got into it, he sent Joel a box of clothes to wear, and he had thrown all this pro kit in there, and he threw his Olympic bibs and Olympic jersey in there, and he's like, well, when am I going to wear it?
Yeah,
and so, yeah, that's true. When he's on contract,
right.
every 5 minutes getting a new kit.
Yeah,
I guess I kind of get it.
Wouldn't that be
I
nice?
don't necessarily want to throw everything away. I did want to mention the Donnelly hat. I did like the Donnelly hat.
Pulled that out of the
And
archives.
talking about PDXs, and as everybody knows, we can't get PDXs anymore. And why can't we get PDXs anymore? And no one really has a really good answer to that. I've heard some, chatter on it. I would love Don Kellogg is the guy that owns that company, and that's why it's called Donnelly. And I would love to have him on the podcast. The only problem is every time I've reached out to him in the last few years, he hasn't really responded. I think he's just kind of done this radio silence thing to everybody, because I've heard other people have reached out to him and haven't really gotten a response. But if you got an in with Don, or Don, if you're listening to this by chance, then give me a call. I'd love to have you on the podcast. We can talk about just his varied history within the industry, kind of what he's done and things like that, and also get the story and what are we seeing, because everybody wants a PDX, and I still don't have a story to tell them. I just got to tell them, I'll get you a challenge tire now, we'll go that way.
Yeah.
Speaking of challenge, I love challenge. I love racing their tire. I did the Grifo 38 both days up at Trek. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. I love that Grifo 38 too much. I understand that. I have like 5 other treads that are glued up and ready to go for me. And
you weren't the only person I saw with those Grifo 38s on.
They were perfect. They were perfect for last weekend. But I had you told me you had a dream about Grifos last night.
So weird. So weird. Like I all night long, I just kept having dreams about Grifo tires. I don't know why. Like just like 3 or 4 different dreams. They were short. They were whatever. I don't really remember the details, but I remember every time I woke up going, damn, the Grifo is a good tire.
Yeah.
Every time I woke up. And then I woke up to that post that you sent me about the Fango. We were talking about the Fango the other day, and I was like, oh, that looks like an awesome tire too. And then I was just like, why do I have tires on my brain?
The Fango was great.
I don't want to have tires on my brain.
I don't know why it came up, but we were talking about the treads they used to have. And I said the Fango. Oh, yeah, no, because I said I started, Grifo was the first tread I ever ran, and I hated it then.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the compound is different. The lugs are a little bit deeper now than they used to be, I think. Just some changes to it. But I didn't like it. I don't think I knew how to ride it at the right pressure. And this is 20 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
And now I went from that to the Fango. And that's the other tread that they had at the time. That was their mud tread. And for those that remember it, well, we were talking about that. And then yesterday on the Challenge Tires North America Instagram thing, they said throwback, and it was to national championships they had in Louisville a bunch of years ago, then 2019 or 2018, where they found at I'm blanking, Haas Active Sports Gear. That's where they were the distributor for Challenge tires, and he said he found a box in there. In that box, he pulled it out, and it had a bunch of Fangos in it. And on the sidewall, it said, those Fangos, it had a stamped prototype. And it's because they had put the Fango tread on a team edition modern casing instead of on the old pro casing. And he had a box of those, and he brought them to national championships, and he was selling them out to everybody for like $40-$50 a tire or something like that. And I picked up a few even and sold them to people at that time. But but they posted that yesterday. Yeah. And I was like, wow, and it's just dawning on me. There's like a generation of cross riders now that have no idea what the Fango is, which is just nuts.
Myself included.
But, hey, I mean, it was a good tread, but honestly, I think the treads they're running now, so that was replaced by, the Chicane, the Limas, and the Baby Limas.
Yeah.
The Fango was not a full-on mud tread. It really wasn't. It didn't have enough grip for that. And it had almost too much grip. It had almost too much grip for just, grass racing. The Grifo is actually better at that. So I used it a lot, but it also felt like Velcro every time that I ran it. So it felt slow a lot more often than not. So, but I was not good enough to pilot anything with less traction. So that's what I did. But that's the Grifo. So love to hear from Don and talk to him, get him on the podcast. If you guys have any ideas on anything that we should add in the future, by all means, send us an email. Thanks, Robbie, for the email you sent. That's a good one, and we'll do stuff like that. We'll read it, and say it's from you guys. As always, we do the buttonhole giveaway. If you've got, just send us an email, say you want to be entered into the drawing. I will just select from those that have sent their emails in. I'm getting a lot of the same people sending in every week. So I can tell you, if you're a new person, you're probably going to get it. So if you haven't done it before, just send us an email to roadisdead@gmail.com. Once again, roadisdead, all one word, roadisdead@gmail.com. Grab yourself some buttonhole chamois cream, available at all the fine retailers and bike shops all throughout the country. If they don't have it, tell them to stock it. Tell them to give me a call, and I can get them set up. Try it out. Outside of that, Cymet Wheels, obviously go and buy some Cymet Wheels, or check out our website, or give us a call and talk to us about wheels and what we can do for you. Support your local bike shop. Go lube your chain.
I was like, what else are we gonna say?
maybe put on some new cleats.
Oh yeah,
you need to do that.
I got in a shouting sidebar. I got in a shouting match with a construction worker today, and it felt damn good.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Because coming
cleats?
You know where the airport is?
Yeah.
Right? The prairie path that goes by the airport. So whatever road that is, Powys or whatever, it's all ripped up under construction.
West. Yeah.
Right. So I was doing that today, coming home, and I get there, and there's like two little construction sawhorses, a string going across, and I'm like, okay, this is obviously messed up. Let me dismount here and, walk into the street,
walk
cross
around
the street.
Yeah.
Right. So I go and I step on the curb, and my shoe goes.
Oh.
So it's fresh. It was fresh, and I was like, oh no. And the guy gets out of his truck, and he's like, oh no. It's like I shot his mother, and he starts complaining, and he's yelling at me, dropping F-bombs, and I just laid into him, and he's like, read the sign, and I lit him up. I lit him up so bad that he was so mad that I called him out on his BS that he just walked away. And I was like, there's no sign. Show me where the sign is. There's no sign that says your curb is wet. Yeah. So what am I supposed to do here? You guys are blocking this road for 6 months now. When are you going to be done?
And by the way, this is one of the most populated and ridden trails in the Chicagoland area, and you're going to block it off.
Like, here's the thing: every day, all day
long. And it's not like you send an email out to every single cyclist in the Chicagoland area and said, don't cross this one little tiny section. That is one of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to our trail system. We got a great trail system. Yeah. Very extensive trail system. I love it. I use it extensively, and I do most of my riding on the trail system now. Yeah. But all the trail systems are maintained and run by people that are not cyclists. So
absolutely.
They don't get any of it. They don't understand any of it. They don't understand that when they go and they're like, well, I have to do maintenance on this section, so I got to shut it down. And it's like, you don't understand that if this was road construction, this is the equivalent of going to the most populated road in your area and just shutting down the road.
Just shut down 290 from wherever to wherever.
In the middle of it, with no exits before or after, and no detour signs laid out, and you just kind of go, well, figure it out, And it's like, that doesn't work. It really doesn't work. And guess what's going to happen? We're going to get off our bikes, and we're going to walk around your signs and your fences and everything else, because we have to. We have to get to where we're going. Yeah. And the only time that we're not going to do that is if you are working on a bridge and you have blocked it off because I can't swim with my bike over to the other side. That's the only reason why I'm not going to walk around your little sign. So I get ticked off whenever it happens, and they just block it off. There's no signs. They don't explain anything. They don't have date ranges on it, so you can actually plan your rides around it and be nice. You can't do any of that. And then they get pissed at you, and it's just like, you know what? So I totally would have laid into the guy as well.
Like, there's no like, hey, detour this way, detour that way. It's just like,
or
choose
even
your own adventure.
Somebody flagging it and being like, hey, this is wet right now, and this is a really busy path.
Yeah, and
maybe we should stick somebody out here and just be like, hey, it's wet concrete. You need to get around over to here. I'll help flag some traffic or whatever.
He got really pissed off. He got really pissed off because I called him out. I was like, maybe if you got off your ass and did your effing job, this wouldn't have happened. And he was like, and he was like, you could see it's just the steam coming out of his ears. But then I ran into a guy when you get back on the path, you cross the road, and the guy was like, he's like, I'm new here. I just moved here from St. Louis. I need to get back to Oak Park. And I was like, well, that's your best way. The path is your best way. Don't go to 38. Don't go to 64. You'll get hit by a car.
You'll get clobbered.
This is your way to go. And he's like, yeah, I tried that, but the guy wouldn't let me cross. And I'm like, don't listen to him. I just had a shouting match with him. Try to find an area where you can at least get on the lawn, walk parallel, and then get your bike back on the path over the train tracks. Felt like it was liberating to yell at this dude because I knew everything that I was saying was correct.
Yeah.
I
could.
Oh, go ahead.
We have they totally screwed us by where I live because 294 expressway has been under construction forever, decades, right? And I live just on the east side of 294. So all of my rides, I ride west. So I have to get across 294. And we always there was a pedestrian overpass that went over with no cars. You went right over into Hinsdale, and then you could split off wherever you needed to go from there.
Are you off of Ogden?
I'm right by Ogden, yeah.
Okay.
Or you could go over into the Bemis Woods Forest Preserve that's just on the north side of Ogden, and then the Salt Creek Trail went underneath 294. But when they did all this construction, they took out the pedestrian overpass with no intention of replacing it.
Yeah.
They closed the underpass under 294, which we were able to sneak around for a long time, and they finally buttoned it up so solid with fencing. There is no way to get through there anymore with a bike. So you literally have no good way to get across 294. You can't go on Ogden. You will die.
Oh,
it's
a
ridiculous.
Death trap right there.
It's a death trap.
They just don't give a shit.
You go miles out of your way south to get onto 47th in order to get across, and then come all the way back up north again. And I'm just like, I'm on a bicycle and I can cover that extra 5 miles. Is not that big of a deal. It's annoying though that they just. What's annoying is that they give zero
notice.
Zero
they
shits.
don't
No
care.
notice. You just roll up on the trail and it's like trail closed.
Yep.
And you're like, what?
No, it's not.
Where am I supposed to go? Because you
nothing.
took out the pedestrian overpass. I'm like, I'm almost tempted to walk down the middle of Ogden Avenue and see if somebody hits me, and at least that'll make
please don't.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
The news or something,
No,
or just
no.
go out there with flashing lights down the middle of the busy road.
The news would be,
you'll get blamed.
Cyclist does something stupid and dies.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
it's like with all of this planning, it would not have been that difficult for them to add some sort of a feature along Ogden that would allow for people to walk and ride a bike across the expressway there. Because I used to walk over there to go shopping all the time. There's grocery stores and all this stuff in there. You cannot, now it's impossible to walk because you're adding extra 5 miles. Which I'm not going to walk 5 miles to go just on the other side of the expressway now. So, doctor's offices, all the stuff, I can't access it unless I'm in a car. That pisses
I don't
me
know.
off.
I don't know about what you guys think. I know, Leah, you have your problems with your area, Rob, I'm sure. But it seems like construction is tenfold this season.
Yeah.
It just seems like it's everywhere.
And it's
everywhere.
There's sections that on the path and trail and everything that don't need to be touched, and they're just doing it. They're
like
just shutting it off and
like
doing
they got utility maintenance. They're trimming the trees out of all the power lines and everything. That's the worst when they just park their giant tree trimming vehicles
right in the middle of
the path. I had
and
a
then they
shouting
give you
match
the
with one of
look
those
when
guys.
you're riding by them, and you're like, "The fuck am
What
I supposed to do?"
Yeah.
It's like, of course I'm going to come around you.
You're right.
At least some of the ones around Dundee and a little north of Dundee, they pull to one side of the trail.
I'm
and
okay
as
with
you
that.
come up, as you come up, they'll wave at you.
The people doing trail maintenance, they've been super courteous. Like they will always pull off, stop. They shut off their machines as you go by, and
like if they're running
I always
a
wave
chainsaw.
and thank them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they're good.
Don't want to fall and get your arm in the chipper.
Right.
Yeah.
and people think that
and
we're
the rest
horrible
of you.
people and we're rude and everything else like that. But you see, it does not take much. If you do just a little bit, we are so thankful and appreciative of all that you're doing. It just takes a little bit of thought, I think, and it'll put us in the right mood. But
Yeah.
obviously, no one puts any thought into it, so we get the reputation of being assholes. Maybe
Yeah,
it's just
I
because
mean-
I'm an asshole.
Well, that too, because when I initially stepped in the guy's wet concrete, I looked. He was like, "Oh no!" I looked and I laughed at him. I was like, "Oh well."
Yeah.
And then he got super pissed, and it was fun.
So, but the final bit of this is that you need new cleats.
No. I scrubbed it all out. I thought I was gonna.
Okay.
I was like, "Oh, it's gonna harden
gonna
my
destroy
cleats.
the
It's gonna
pedal and-
yeah." I thought it was gonna harden. I got it all out. It was
Nice.
like a dusting. But by the time I got home, the 2 miles, I could scrape it off with my hands.
Yeah. But you do remember, didn't you have a pedal pull-out problem or something like that, like in the last couple of weeks?
Different
Okay.
shoes. I did
But
pull
I was
out
going to
my
remind you,
shoe
you
at
do
Trek.
need to replace on those.
Yes, I do, Rob. I do.
So take that as your cue that you need to replace your cleats if you haven't replaced. If you don't remember when you last replaced your cleats, then you need to replace your
You
cleats.
definitely need to replace your cleats.
So
there's only
it's
so much
always worth
tension
it.
in your pedals.
Right. And they do wear down. Even if they're metal cleats, I run the time system, they wear down. And I didn't think mine were very worn, but I was getting a lot of pedal noise, the rattling and stuff. And I noticed it was really easy to clip in and clip out. And then I just, on a whim, I just replaced them. Night and day difference. So you can always stand to replace your cleats. If you can't remember, go ahead and replace them.
If you can easily take your foot out of the pedal, it's time to replace your cleats.
We're running along. Thanks for joining us. Like, subscribe, share, do all that stuff. If you have any information that you want to share with us, go ahead and send it in. If you have anything you want us to talk about, send it in. Thank you much for listening.
Give us some stuff to talk about.
And enjoy the ride.